Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Topic today is 10 signs of war and 10 signs of the economy. Sadly, neither one of them is good news. Also, J.J. Carroll has called and says, please, I'm getting lots of emails. Yes, I will come out of Prophecy Club. Tell them, don't email me anymore. Don't go and request me to be on Prophecy Club. He got the message. So just shows you the power of Prophecy Club. When we band together and we ask and pray that something gets done, it gets done. He's going to be on Wednesday, the 17th, 2024. J.J. Carroll. Okay, so a couple of things before I actually get to the main topics. Nationwide Bank in the UK is now refusing withdrawals by depositors. We've heard this in Australia, and I want to say New Zealand, it was someplace else. July 2, video from the United Kingdom, Nationwide Bank is refusing, and I'm not going to show the video. The point is, I looked at it, and it's accurate here. This bank is refusing to give a depositor some £5,000 sterling of its own account at the bank. Instead of the bank giving the man his own money, they tell him to get out. Worse, U.S. headed for a deep recession in near future as stocks could fall 30%. That's what Maurice Sklar, Dana Coverstone, Shane Warren, Chris Reed all have said that, okay? Stocks could fall by 30%. Exactly, they said the dollar, but dollar, stocks, dollar. I mean, it's close enough for us to know we better get ready. Anyway, he goes on to say, BCA Research Chief Global Strategist Peter Berezin warned that, contrary to popular belief, the economy will fall into a recession either this year or early 25. The S&P 500 could tumble to 3750, a 30% drop. Okay, I'm not saying that. Look, we've been warned. What, 4 different people at least? Berezin's prediction hinges on the belief that the labor market will slow notably in coming months, which will weigh heavily on consumer spending, a major driver in economic growth. The relationship between the inflation and unemployment is measured by something called the Phillips curve, and no, I didn't look it up. We got enough problems. But I will remind you of these prophecies. We got 34 prophecies saying suitcase nukes are coming, so it'd be a good idea to go and get you one of these, empshield.com. Promo code prophecy gets you a $50 discount. 17 prophecies say a meteor causing a tsunami and an earthquake is going to hit. And also 14 say a food shortage is going to come, josephskitchen.com. 11 say the dollar is going to fall. For that, I'll send you to prophecyclubgold.com or prophecyclubbar.com and get you one of these, and it fits right into your billfold. 7 say a surprise Russian nuclear attack is going to hit, prophecyclub.com. Okay, so let's go. 11 signs that the U.S. economy is in far worse shape than most people think. Michael Snyder, good friend of mine, Prophecy Club speaker. Unless you're living under a bridge or you are eagerly drinking Kool-Aid that the mainstream media is dishing out, you probably understand that the economy has been struggling. That's putting it mildly. Survey after survey has found that the American people are deeply dissatisfied with how the economy has been performing, and as a result, it has become the number one issue this election season. But even though a large portion of the population is not happy about how things have been going, the truth is that the situation is far more dire than most people realize. Just this week, we have received quite a bit of very troubling news, and the outlook for the months ahead is very bleak. The following are 11 signs that the U.S. economy is in far worse shape than most people think. Number 1, just like in 2008, delinquencies are on the rise. In fact, credit card delinquencies have now reached the highest level we have seen in more than 10 years. Now, what does that show? Okay, so when people don't have money, they run up on the credit cards. So in that credit card debt has gone up, and then when they don't have the money to pay the credit cards, then delinquency. So it's a very good way to measure how many people are really in trouble. Meanwhile, more consumers aren't making loan payments on time. Credit card delinquencies have hit their highest level in over a decade, and auto delinquencies are also spiking. Why? I think that there is a plan to put the world into a really bad economic turmoil so that they can go in and repossess the houses and the cars. Remember, the World Economic Forum said by 2030, you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. You'll be living in 15-minute cities, eating crickets and no meat, no gasoline. You won't be able to get onto an airplane, but once every 2 years. Oh, a wonderful utopia, right? Number two, the commercial real estate crisis just continues to escalate. See, one of the things that blesses America is our real estate. So when the real estate starts going down, everything else starts going down. An article that originally appeared in the New York Times claims that major Wall Street banks have begun offloading their portfolios of commercial real estate loans, hoping to cut their losses. So, this might not be a real good time to buy a house or actually maybe a new car or anything else new. I think, again, God gave me a dream, warned me to basically this is the second time He's told me, batten down hatches, pull in the door, get ready for a financial storm, Stan. That's what He's told me personally. So since you probably live in the same nation I do, it'd probably be a good idea for you to take the same advice. Number three, when banks get into trouble, they start shutting down branches. That's obvious. So far this year, the U.S. banks have closed more than 400 branches all over the country. Now, the banks say, oh, well, we're doing this because now a lot of people just doing business online, so we don't need the brick and mortar stores. Okay, all right, fine, I'll buy that. That's certainly part of it. But maybe the banks know something we don't know. When over 400 banks get closed so far in 2024, to me that sounds like more than just online banking. Number four, big companies are laying off workers from coast to coast. For example, approximately 500 Texas truckers just lost their jobs when a large logistic company abruptly shut their doors, and that's another thing. A lot of these companies are abruptly shutting their doors, and they're just, boom, all of a sudden laying off huge numbers of workers. We've covered this several times. This is not the first time we heard this. So there's a truck and logistics company abruptly shut their doors, affecting 2,000 workers just 3 years after being bought by private equity. Out of the blue, staff at the U.S. Logistics Solutions were given news on Thursday that they were out of a job. Remember, Jason Meeks was shown and David Phillips was shown that the dollar falls quickly. It's like 1 minute everything's fine, and then there's no warning, there's no slow fall. Okay, it's like and then straight down. Over 500 were truck drivers, and the rest a mixture of warehouse dock office workers at Humble, Texas. Number five, the Dallas Fed Services Index. Now, I didn't know what the Dallas Fed Services Index was, so I looked it up. Has been now in the negative territory for 25 months in a row, so I looked it up. Trading Economics provides that data for 200 million economic indicators are 196 countries, including actual values, consensus figures, forecasts, historical time series and news, Dallas Federal Services Index. No. Okay, so that's a really big, strong indicator that's apparently well-researched in data. Here's what they say. They say that this is the 25th straight month of contraction or sub-zero for the Dallas Fed Services Index. They know, and they're saying that the whole economy is in deep trouble. Number six, the restaurant apocalypse just continues to intensify. This week we learned that Hooters, don't say anything, Stan. Hooters has suddenly decided to permanently shut down, close 40 underperforming locations. I think it's bad wording to say that Hooters is underperforming. I'll let that one lay right there. Let's go on. So the Atlanta-based sports bar, they call it sports bar chain Hooters abruptly shuttered dozens of underperforming restaurants across the U.S. as it joins a growing list of eateries facing the harsh realities of inflation and changing consumer habits, according to reports. Now, I'll go on. Number seven, retail chains continue to go belly up at a staggering rate. Today, it was reported that two large retailers in the Northeast have made a decision to file for bankruptcy. Two sister chains that sell sporting goods have filed for bankruptcy. Bob's Stores, which sells athletic, casual clothing, outdoor gear, retailer Eastern Mountain Sports, both have 50 stores across the Northeast of America closing. We just learned that consumer confidence in the U.S. dropped lower this month. 9. The initial consumer confidence reading has been revised down in 7 of the last 8 months. Number 10. Housing in the U.S. is now more unaffordable than it has ever been. Home prices are now 47% higher than they were in 2020. Number 11, the last one. As I discussed yesterday, the homeless population of the city of Chicago tripled from January 23 to January 24. The number of Chicagoans living in city shelters or on city streets tripled from January 23 to January 24, according to the annual survey. Now, let's go to the next topic. 10 signs that global war is rapidly approaching. Okay, so what does it mean when our economy is falling? At the same time, we're heading for war. I think this is the hand of God bringing a sinful nation down to judgment. So, once again, Michael Snyder says, unfortunately, even though a very alarming warning signals are flashing all around us, most of the population of the Western world seems absolutely clueless about what is really going on out there. We've seen that a lot, haven't we? Leaders all over the planet seem to have come down with a really bad case of, quote, war fever, and preparations for apocalyptic shutdowns are being made. The following are 10 signs that global war is rapidly approaching. Now, let me remind you before we get to them. Revelation 6, 2, 3, and 4. These are the first two angels. The first one went forth conquering and to conquer. The second one, power is given to him to take peace from the earth that they would kill one another. Now, I have 3 people that say that two of them say the first 4 seals are open, and one of them say the 5th seal is also open. All of this has to do with the first 2 seals here, and I still refuse to say we're in the tribulation, but I may be wrong. We may be in the tribulation. And I know some people want to say, well, it's longer than 7 years. Well, that's not what the Bible says, as I understand it. But nevertheless, the point being, we are very, very close to war. Now, I just got to throw this in here because this is another sign we're heading to war. Biden drains entire Northeast gasoline reserve in bid to lower gas prices as he trails Trump by double digits. Okay, so why would he drain a reserve of crude oil that is desired or is designed to be used in a time of war? I think that he is part of the hand of God that is bringing the Christian nation down because we've turned from our God. Okay, let's go back to them now. These are the 10 signs of war. Politico is reporting that Israel and Hezbollah have both drafted battle plans. In other words, Israel says they're going to war, Hezbollah says they're going to war. And Iran also says that they want to jump in and they want to attack Israel too. As a matter of fact, about the whole Middle East wants to kill Israel, which of course that's Armageddon, and that's when Jesus returns to stop it. And the Biden administration is convinced that intensive fighting is likely to break out. Yeah, well, it probably is. And we're heading to Armageddon. I've told you that April 22 of 22, when Putin invaded Ukraine, that was the start of Armageddon. That's the start of World War III, and it doesn't end until Jesus returns for Battle of Armageddon. Both sides have publicly said that they do not want war, but senior Biden officials increasingly believe that intense fighting is likely to break out despite efforts to try and prevent it. Number 2, Iran is warning that there will be an obliterating war if the IDF enters southern Lebanon. So there's a lot of people threatening, there's a lot of people rattling their swords. Number 3, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is convinced that a major, war here with Iran is inevitable because he believes that the Iranians have plans if I can read here, have plans to conquer the entire Middle East. Okay, well, again, that's what the angels, the first four angels, are really all about, is war. 4. According to NBC News, the U.S. is moving military assets into position so they can be ready to evacuate Americans once an all-out war erupts between Israel and Hezbollah. And that could happen before you even get to see this in the next program. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of wars. Number 5. On Thursday, Hezbollah sent approximately 40 rockets. Now, actually, this is old information. It's now up to 200 rockets. 200 rockets to hit Israel. Okay, ask yourself this. If there was a group of people in Mexico or Canada that fired 200 rockets down into America, what would we do? We would retaliate, and it wouldn't take but just a few minutes to see it happen. Number 6. On Saturday, Israeli aircraft bombed several Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. So here we are. I mean, we are on the cusp of an escalation. I think it's already started. I think this is Armageddon. When Russia invaded Ukraine, that was the start of Armageddon. It'll continue to escalate up just like Daniel 7 says it will. And maybe I should jump over to Daniel 7. I don't know if I have time. Maybe it will. It doesn't look like I have time. But anyway, number 7. Apparently, Joe Biden is thinking about approving a plan that would, quote, allow U.S. military contractors to deploy to Ukraine. Now, we know he has already done that. So what does that mean? That means that now we have American military war machines, missiles, and various things that we have sent to Ukraine, but they can't fly the F-16s. They can't run some of the high technology that we've sent them. So that means who has to run them? That would be American blood. Okay, so then they're firing using these military weapons on Russia, and they're killing Russians in Russia. Okay, now hang on. So if American hands made the device, American hands shipped the device to Ukraine, American hands aim the device, push the fire button, and it kills Russians in Russia, what would you call that? I call that an act of war. So I think that Russia is being extremely patient. But maybe they're being patient because they're waiting for exactly the right time to launch a surprise nuclear attack and take America out in 1 hour. Look, they know that they can't just roll up on the shores because I think it's 2 out of 3 Americans have guns. They know that. And at the end of the day, there's only 2 ways to take America out, and that would be in 1 hour with nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs hitting all over America, or a big, long, bloody battle. And Americans got their shooting irons, and they know how to aim them. They know how to shoot, and so it would be a bloodbath if they decided to do a pistol rifle war. I'll say it that way. Here, let me tell you. Okay, so if you don't have one of these, get one of these for your car, your house. Promo code PROPHECY gets you a $50 discount. Okay, on to the next one. 8. Russian President Vladimir Putin is reportedly interested in developing a coalition or a Russian version of NATO. So he's gathering up other nations, and they are joining him. North Korea is the latest one. And so we can see that Putin in Russia is preparing for war, and we can see that Biden in America is preparing for war. The 2 big guys on the block are about to go to war. Number 9, Putin is also warning that Russia will need to begin production of an intermediate range nuclear weapon system. Now, I'm not a military guy, and I can't explain to you why that's such a big off-the-table thing, but it was a big off-the-table thing for a long time. But America, a number of years ago, we talked about on the program, pulled out of the treaty. Russia did nothing. But now, Russia looks, and America has started developing these intermediate range nuclear weapons. So Russia is now saying, we're going to start developing them too. Okay, so if you want to know if war's coming, all you have to do and look and see if nations around the world are building up their war machine. And nations around the world are building up their war machine. 10, last one. The very influential figure in the Russian foreign policy circles is suggesting that the Russians should actually detonate a nuclear device in order to show the world how serious they are. We talked about this too. Okay, so Russia is saying to Ukraine, okay, so it's not so bad, and we're about to detonate some nuclear bombs, the small ones, in Ukraine, and you're about to see it's not so bad, but we have to do this to show the world that we're serious because, we don't hear this on Fox News. We don't hear this on American news sources. So America is just ignoring the problem. But Russia, the Russian bear, just like Dmitry was told, is getting really, really angry. Unfortunately, all of this happening at the same time when 72% of the U.S. workers believe that the guy with his finger on the nuclear button does not have the mental or cognitive health to serve as president. A sweeping section of registered voters do not believe that President Joe Biden has the mental and cognitive health to serve a second term as president after his unsteady, that's putting it lightly, debate performance last week, according to the new poll. By the way, I have to say something. On a personal note, after the debate was over, and I watched every word of it and recorded it, I started watching a little bit of Fox News, and Leslie says, let's see what CNN is saying. And I'm so glad I turned over to CNN. I was recording both Fox News and CNN, but I enjoyed CNN much more because I was watching the left, the Dems, crying in their beer about how bad this guy Biden had done. And Leslie and I were we were almost like clapping and applauding and just rejoicing so much. So we just thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you want to know, yeah, I always have been a big Trump supporter. He's not Jesus, he's not perfect, but boy, he's far better than the alternative. Okay, so let's jump to the bottom two lines. So it says, we are for far more trouble than most people realize, and it is far later than most people think that it is. Now let me point something out here in closing here. Matthew 24, we're all familiar with this, but I'm going to show you some things you probably haven't seen. Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. I think that's talking about World War I, World War II. But see that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation. I think that's World War I. Kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places. We've seen famines, we've seen pestilence, we've seen earthquakes, we've seen divers places. But what we haven't seen is them all happening all at the same time. Remember the perfect storm where 3 or 4 things happen at the same time? That's what he's saying. All of them happening at the same time. These are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall the devil deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Now, who's he talking to? Here, specifically, Jesus is talking to the Jews. So, have the Jews been delivered up to be afflicted and killed and hated of all nations for my name's sake? Yes, I believe that was the Nazis in World War II. Then shall many be offended. Wait a minute. The Jews were not offended. They didn't betray one another. Okay, so now this is talking about a second time. This is talking about when there's a group of people that are offended, and like right now in America, there's a lot of people getting offended. Boy, if you don't use the right pronoun, if you say this person's not the right sex or not the right gender, oh boy, you can get just so offended. Matter of fact, let me tell you a little story. So I was playing with an NFL star, playing racquetball. And his daughter came up to play with us. Of course, we welcomed her in. And we were playing doubles. Means there's 2 on this side that typically battle against each other, 2 on this side. So it's 4 people on the court. And I was up here in this position. And I was serving to his daughter. And I wanted to be nice. I wanted to be kind and considerate. So I turned to him and I said, look, I need to know. I said, I'm not trying to be like, mean or anything. Is it okay if I serve hard to her? He said, sure, go for it. So I served as if she was like any other player, trying to get the ball past her. That's what you try to do, okay? And then after the game was over, she came up and got in my face. She says, I want to just tell you that I was greatly offended at what you said. What? Well, you treated me differently. You acted as if you shouldn't serve hard to me. What? I mean, wait. I thought I was being kind. I thought I was being considerate. Well, these days, it's a whole other generation that is easily offended, and that's my point. And shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. I think that was happening on the internet right now. I think there's so many people. I mean, you don't have to be behind a church. You don't have to have a denomination. You don't have to be called by God. All you got to do is open you up some kind of a platform on one of the platforms out there, and you start saying, God told me this, I heard God, I had a dream, I had a vision, and somebody will follow you, and somebody will start sending you donations. Never mind, you weren't called. And so there's a question about whether people should believe this person. Is this person really hearing? And sad to say, I think Leslie would say that most of them that say they're hearing from God are not really hearing from God. Matter of fact, when she has people come up to her that want to give her a personal prophecy or say they're hearing from God, she just said, I don't think you want to give me a personal prophecy. Why? Because when a person really hears from God, see, she's given 5,000 personal prophecies, likewise have I. And when a person really can hear from God, recognize the voice of God, okay, like that. Matter of fact, I'll tell you another story. So we had this one guy came into our church one Sunday and sat at the back. He walked in after the sermon had started. After it was over, he walked up. He said, I have a prophecy for you and your wife from the Lord. So I called Leslie over and I thought, yeah, you probably don't want to do this. And so Leslie walked over and I told her what, she just walked off. She said, I'm not going to hear that. And I thought, okay, that's probably the easy way out. He says, I know it's of the Lord. I said, okay, wait. Do you know what you walked into here? He said, well, I looked you up online. I said, I don't think you understand. I said, we have done 70 3-day crusades teaching people how to give personal prophecies. I've given over 5,000 personal prophecies, as likewise my wife. She's written a book on what it takes to be a prophet. I said, we're probably the last persons on earth you want to try to give a prophecy, because if it's not of God, we'll see it that fast, and it probably won't be good for you. My suggestion is that you just turn around and leave. Well, I have a word from the Lord. I said, look, if God wants to talk to us, he'll talk to us. And if he needs to correct us, believe me, we get corrected all the time. We don't need God to send some newbie in. This guy was probably 23 years old. We don't need some newbie in to help us to hear from God. And I said, my suggestion, second time, I don't think you want to deliver this prophecy. My suggestion is you go ahead and walk right on out that door right now. And I was being very kind, very gracious, because I knew if Leslie got, see, okay, let me explain something. So on Sunday mornings, I'm not the watchman, okay? I'm more of the pastor. So the spirit and the heart that I walk into church with on Sunday morning is the heart of a pastor. So I'm kind and loving, and I want to make everyone feel encouraged and glad they're there. That's not Leslie. Now, during the week, Leslie is kind and loving and a gentle person, very, very kind, very loving, very thoughtful. Okay, that's Leslie during the week. But on Sunday morning, she walks in there in the office of a prophet. And when she walks in, people know she means business. She's not kidding. She's loving. She's kind. But okay, I'm going over time, but I'll tell you another story. I figure if you lasted this long, then maybe you're okay for me to tell you this story. So I don't know, 6 months ago, I walked in the front door of our church, probably 45 minutes before it started. It starts at 9:30, so probably it was like 8:45. I walked in, and there was a lady sitting in a chair just inside the front door. She had her hands like this, and she was just sitting in the chair like this and just praying. And I thought, oh. See, because most people think that Stan and Leslie are just, with a small church. We have 30 or 40 people on a Sunday. So they think, oh, well, this is just another little small pastor. They don't understand. We've done 73-day crusades. They don't understand that we've actually got a large ministry. It's just not very big in the church. And so I walked into the audio video room. Leslie was in there, and I said, have you seen the front door yet? She said, no, what? I said, there's a lady up there by the front door. You probably want to go check it. See, because on Sunday morning, the office of a prophet is the police officer of the church. So on Sunday morning, I'm not the person bringing correction. I'm not the one that's harsh or direct. On Sunday morning, I'm more of the pastor, as I said. But Leslie is a no-nonsense police officer on that church. I mean, if there's something out of order, she smells it in the spirit, man. I mean, before it even raises its ugly head, she is all over it. So I walked out of the video room, and I went ahead and walked on into the front of the church. Because I thought, I don't think I want to be a part of this. Because Leslie does not need my help to bring correction. And about 60 seconds later, I hear this screaming coming from the front of the church. Now, fortunately, at this time, there wasn't very many people had already come in. And the ones that came in already were, long-time supporters and everything of the church. But I heard the screaming coming from the front of the church. Get out! Get out now! Get out! I said, yeah, I thought I'd be hearing that. See, because 70 crusades, 3-day crusades, we have been through all kinds of Jezebels, all kinds of attacks. We know how to handle ourselves in the world of Christendom with meetings and with knuckleheads. I mean, I can tell you, I could make a whole program, bring Leslie here and have her sit beside me and tell you story after story after story after story. People that have been kicked out of our meetings. I'll tell you another one. We were in South, I probably shouldn't say this. I'll probably wind up deleting this out of it, but we were in South Bend. And we only had about 40 people at the meeting there. And typically we have, 100 to 150 people. We've got up to 700, but we only had about 40 people. It was in South Bend, Indiana. And we were just about to start. I was in the front row, of course. Leslie turns to me and she says, I don't want you to say anything or do anything. You just sit there. I will handle this. And I thought, handle what? But again, that's Leslie. Because as a prophet, if there's something out of order, she notices it. So she... Probably I shouldn't tell you this story. You'll probably get the wrong idea. The next thing I know, she has walked 2 rows back, and she has a guy by the ear. I'm serious now, I'm not kidding. She has him by the ear, and she is marching him out the door. So she marches him to the back of the room, opens the door, and throws him out. And he says, it's raining out here. And she says, you should have thought about that before you decided not to praise and worship my God. Then she told me all the story, all the details you probably don't want to go through. But so for somebody to walk in our church, think they want to take over our church, think they want to act like they're hearing from God, think they want to act like there's something special, that we don't know what we're talking about, we don't know what we're doing. They're in trouble. Now, I say all of that to say this. Many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. So believe me, we here at the Prophecy Club, when we have a meeting, it's done decently in order, and there is no foolishness. There is nobody that wants to pull some kind of shenanigans. Nobody wants to stand up and start preaching, or, I mean, I could go through many examples. And I never have to do anything. Now there's times where she'll walk over and she'll get a couple of our other armor bearers, which have already prepared. They already know their role, what to do. And she'll just look at a couple of the armor bearers, and most of the time she'll have 2 or 3 pretty strong men standing behind her. And when she marched this fella out the door, there was 2 guys behind Leslie. So I'm just saying, we know what we're doing. And what we're doing here in this ministry is not a joke. We're very serious about it. And so when we have a meeting, you can rest assured things are done decently in order. So, yeah, will there be many false prophets arise and deceive many? Yep. The love many shall wax cold, and he that... Now, I got one more thing I've got to say, and we're going to close this. I'm real late. He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Now, most people, including me when I was young in the Lord, when I first read that, I thought, oh, well, if you can just live to the end of the tribulation, then you're automatically saved. That's not what it's saying. It's saying that if you can make it to the end and you do not take the mark of the beast and you do not receive Jesus, neither one of them, you don't take the mark of the beast, but you don't take Jesus either, then you are saved from the wrath. And you're allowed to live up to 1,000 years or until you sin, and then a morning star judge shows up with the morning star, hits you with the morning star, you fall on the ground, a pile of ashes and bones destroyed, both body and soul instantly. So when it says, the same shall be saved, it means they're saved from the wrath to come. In other words, as the morning star hits them, they are not destroyed because they didn't take the mark. But they didn't receive Jesus, so they don't get eternal life. They are the corners, not harvested. They are allowed to live up to 1,000 years. Okay, so I'm way over today. I want to don't get in trouble. We love you, and when we have a meeting, we want you to come. But I want you to know that when we have a meeting, it's done decently and in order. There's no shenanigans. There's no foolishness. There's no crazy. Okay, we do it right. Again, we've done 70 of them. That's 73-day crusades, and we've done, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 monthly meetings. There was a time when we had 40 meetings a month. So I seldom talk about all that, so I've really gone over today. I hope you enjoy all of this. And by the way, if you're still with me, it'd be nice if you send us an email and, just some kind of encouragement. God bless you.